The page that slipped studio lights buzzed overhead, soft but constant, as the room filled with quiet tension. Ana de Armas stood near the center of the rehearsal stage, her hands gripping the edges of the script. It was their first full read-through. Together. The film was already being whispered about in Hollywood circles, a quiet character drama. It's a film that would strip both actors of glamour and show something raw, something painfully human. She glanced toward the far side of the stage. Keanu Reeves was seated alone, legs crossed, eyes lowered to his pages. He hadn't spoken much that morning. No fanfare, no celebrity presence, just silence, warmth, and attention. Anna couldn't tell if it made her feel calm or more nervous. The director called for a 5-minute break. Chairs scraped, water bottles cracked open, and small conversations echoed through the room. Anna stayed still. She was reading over a paragraph, one of the most vulnerable scenes in the script. A line she couldn't seem to get right then. Without warning, a page slipped from her hand. It fluttered to the floor like a falling leaf. Anna froze. It was just a single page. But it was that page. It's the one she had marked over and over. The one that felt too close to her real life. The one she had folded in half from rereading it in bed. Her eyes watering under the covers when no one could see. Before she could bend down, Keanu stood up. He walked across the stage quietly, his footsteps soft against the polished floor. He didn't say a word, didn't look around. He just picked up the page, gently brushed the corner with his thumb, handed it to her like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. Anna looked at him. She didn't speak. He didn't either. But something in that silence hit her like a wave. Not because he handed her a script, but because he saw it full and came anyway. The moment passed, and the others returned. The director clapped his hands, ready to start again. But Anna was different now. Her voice shook less when she read her lines. Her hands stopped trembling. Maybe it was small, what happened. But to her it meant everything. They reached the emotional scene near the end of Act 1. Anna's character was supposed to reveal a secret one she had buried for years. Keanu's character wasn't meant to say much. Just listen. Anna stepped into the role. She opened her mouth. And then, like lightning, the past came crashing in. Her own past, back in Cuba, long before the lights and cameras. The nights she cried in silence, trying not to wake her mother. The days she sat alone in school, too quiet, too unsure. All those memories poured into her voice now. Not because she planned it, but because she had finally stopped hiding it. Her breath caught, her eyes stung. Keanu didn't break character. He didn't move, but his eyes, those calm, steady eyes, held her there. Not judging, not rescuing. Just staying with her in the moment. When the scene ended, the room was still. No applause, just respect. The director nodded slowly. That's the take. Anna turned away, wiping her eyes, but she smiled. Not because the scene was perfect, but because she had let herself feel. Someone had made it safe to do that. After rehearsal, most of the crew scattered out. Actors left, one by one, tossing their scripts in bags or underarms. Anna stayed behind to help pack up some props. She didn't expect Keanu to still be there, but he was, sitting at the edge of the stage again, staring at an old lamp they'd used for the scene. Not moving, just ... There and I walked over and sat beside him. For a while, neither of them said anything. The kind of silence that isn't awkward but alive. Full of what doesn't need to be said. Finally, she whispered, "How do you do it?" He looked at her. She clarified, "How do you make people feel?" "Safe." Keanu shrugged gently, I guess. "I don't try to fix the moment. I just stay in it." Anna nodded, letting the words settle in. A week later, something happened that no one saw coming. News broke that a high-profile actor had been added to the cast. He was known for being difficult, brilliant, but cruel behind closed doors. Whispers on set started quickly. He had a history of undermining younger talent, especially women. Anna felt the tension before he even arrived. On his first day, during a group scene, he made a remark or cruel little joke about Anna's accent. Something about how she should let the grown-ups read the big words. A few crew members chuckled nervously. Anna stood frozen, and then Keanu stood up, not loudly, not aggressively, but with stillness that was louder than shouting. "She doesn't need to prove anything," he said calmly. "If that's the energy we're bringing into this story, then I'm out." The room went silent. The new actor laughed it off, pretending it was a misunderstanding. But something shifted that day. Not just in the power dynamics of the set, but in Anna's heart. Because for the second time, he hadn't waited for her to ask for help. He had just stood. Anna never forgot the page she dropped, not because it fell, because someone saw it and picked it up without a word. Sometimes the kindest moments are the quiet ones, the ones no camera catches, the ones no headline prints, just a man, a page, and a silence that said everything. The silence between Senasana sat in her trailer with the door slightly open. Outside, the sun was slipping lower behind the studio lot. Her script lay open on the table in front of her, but her eyes weren't on the words. They were on the edge of the page, the same one Keanu had handed her days ago. She hadn't folded it since, hadn't marked it again. There was something sacred about it now. A knock came soft, like someone didn't want to disturb her. She looked up. Keanu was standing there, gentle smile on his face, holding 2 cups of tea. "I thought you could use one," he said. Anna smiled, nodded, and waved him in. He didn't sit down right away. He looked around the small trailer. It was simple, quiet, no noise, no decoration, just like her. He placed the tea down on the table and pulled a chair near the door. "You okay?" he asked softly. Anna hesitated, then answered, "I will be." Meant it, and somehow he knew that was enough. That evening's shoot was intense. They were filming the rooftop scene to characters facing truths they had buried for years. The wind was cold, even under the lights. Anna's character was supposed to walk away, holding tears back. Keanu's was supposed to let her go. But something shifted when the cameras rolled. Anna walked the scene, said her lines, reached the mark, but her feet stopped. She couldn't move forward. Her shoulders trembled. "Cut," the director called. "Anna, is everything okay?" She turned to him, nodded, and looked at Keanu. "We just try again. I want to feel it this time." Keanu nodded once. They rolled again. This time, Anna didn't act. She remembered. Memories of walking away from people she loved, people she thought would stay. The goodbye she never said to her father before leaving Cuba. The friend she left behind in Spain. The version of herself she abandoned the day fame began. When she turned to walk away in the scene, tears streamed down her face, and Keanu did something unscripted. He stepped forward, gently touched her shoulder, didn't speak, just stayed there, breaking the silence in the most human way. The director didn't yell cut. The crew didn't move. They just watched 2 people standing in a storm of light, holding pain that felt too real to be written after the shoot. Anna sat alone in the makeup room, wiping off the day. A makeup artist came in quietly. "You were amazing tonight," she whispered. Anna smiled faintly. Didn't feel like acting, and then something surprising happened. The makeup artist added, "I saw what Keanu did. The touch on your shoulder. He changed the whole scene." Anna nodded. "He always knows what to do, and he never makes it about him." That night, the studio reviewed the footage. The scene was perfect, not because of words, but because of presence. And they decided to keep the unscripted moment. It was too powerful to cut. Anna didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Keanu changed the story on. No one even realized it. The next morning, Anna arrived early to set, but something was different. A producer pulled her aside. "Hey, just so you know, the studio's requesting a press junket tomorrow. They want you and Keanu front and center." Anna blinked. "So soon? We haven't even wrapped." "Yeah, buzz is strong. People are calling this the film of the year. But more than that, everyone's talking about your chemistry. They want the world to see you 2 together." Anna didn't know how to feel. Proud? Overwhelmed? Nervous? All of them at once. She walked toward the dressing room where Keanu was getting fitted. She hesitated outside the door, then heard his voice, not loud, not angry, but firm. "If Anna's not comfortable, then I'm not doing it." She froze. He was talking to the publicist. Standing up for her again without being asked, the door opened slightly, and Keanu saw her. "Hey," he said, calm and steady. "They want us to do interviews tomorrow." Anna nodded. "I heard, but only if you're okay with it." He added, "No pressure." "Not ever." Anna stepped into the room. "I think I'm ready," he smiled. "Then let's do it." And just like that, the decision was made, not with force, not with noise, but with respect. That evening, after the fittings and rehearsals ended, Anna walked toward her car in the parking lot. A group of young extras were gathered near a corner, laughing and talking. Anna waved as she passed by, but one of them, the youngest girl, chased after her. "Miss Anna?" she said nervously. "Can I ask something?" Anna turned. "Of course." The girl held out a small notebook. "I want to be an actress. But sometimes I feel like I don't belong here. Like I'm not strong enough." Anna knelt slightly and met her eyes. "You don't need to be strong all the time. You just need to keep showing up." The girl smiled and asked, "How do you do that?" Anna paused, then said softly, "Because someone believed in me before I believed in myself." And behind her, just out of sight, Keanu watched, not stepping forward, not saying a word, just smiling like someone who knew the strength of silent kindness. Later that night, Anna couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about all the moments people never saw. The drop script, the rooftop scene, the private stand in the dressing room. None of it would ever trend online. No paparazzi would write stories about those things, but they were the reason she felt brave. She picked up her journal and wrote one sentence before bed. "He doesn't lift you with noise. He lifts you by noticing what no one else does." Then she closed her eyes and dreamed not of red carpets, not of awards, but of a quiet man who saw her when no one else was looking. The question she couldn't ask morning of the press junket arrived, with cold air and soft gray skies. Anna stepped out of the studio van and looked up at the towering hotel where the interviews would be held. Dozens of cameras were already lined outside. Fans waited behind barriers, holding signs, snapping photos, shouting names, but Anna didn't hear any of it clearly. Her heart was racing, her hands, though steady on the outside, were curling tighter around the edges of her coat. This wasn't fear of fame. She had been to events before. This was different. This was about being seen not as an actress, not as a star, but as herself. And deep down, a small voice still whispered that maybe she wasn't enough. She walked through the lobby with a blank expression, the kind that looked confident from the outside, but was quietly holding everything together. She found Keanu in the waiting room. He looked up from his tea and smiled softly. "Hey, you okay?" Anna didn't answer right away. Instead, she sat beside him and whispered, "How do you do it? How do you let them in, without letting them take too much?" Keanu paused, then answered with a quiet kind of wisdom. "I don't give them me. I give them the work, and I protect the rest." Anna nodded slowly, but her eyes gave her away. She wasn't afraid of the cameras. She was afraid of the questions, especially the one she couldn't answer. The interviews began. A circle of lights, a wave of makeup touch dash-ups, the hum of polite laughter, and pre-written questions. Anna and Keanu sat side by side on a couch, smiling as the host introduced them. The first few questions were simple. About the movie, about the characters, about how they prepared. Anna answered calmly. With careful words, then the host leaned in and asked her something unexpected. "Anna, there's a moment in the film where your character breaks down. It's raw, real, emotional. Was that drawn from a personal place?" Anna froze for just a second. The silence stretched. It's barely noticeable to the audience, but to her, it felt endless. She wasn't sure if she should tell the truth, because the truth was, yes, it was personal. It was a memory of standing in her childhood bedroom, hearing her parents argue in the kitchen, clutching a pillow to her chest so no one would hear her cry. But that wasn't a story she had ever shared. Not publicly, not even to friends. And here it was, rising in her throat like a storm, Keanu looked at her, not to answer for her, and not to step in, but just to be there. She turned to the host and said softly, "Some scenes come from a place deeper than memory, and when they do, just let it happen." The host nodded, satisfied. The cameras moved on. But inside, Yana was shaking. After the interviews ended, Yana slipped into the dressing room and sat alone. The makeup artist knocked gently and offered water. She thanked her, then closed the door again. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Keanu knocked once. Anna opened the door halfway. "Can I come in?" he asked. She nodded. He stepped inside and sat down across from her. They didn't talk at first, just sat quietly. The kind of silence that only happens when someone knows you don't need noise to feel seen. Finally, Anna whispered, "I wasn't ready for that question." Keanu leaned forward. "Shh. But you handled it." She shook her head. "I didn't say what I really felt." "You didn't need to," he replied. "Protected the part of you that wasn't ready. That's strength, not fear." Anna's eyes welled up. "What if people think I'm hiding? Then they don't understand what courage really looks like." She wiped a tear and let out a shaky breath. For the first time in hours, she felt like she could breathe. Later that night, Anna checked her phone. A short clip from the interview was already circulating, but it wasn't the one she feared. It was a quiet moment when she paused after the emotional question, and Keanu turned toward her. He didn't say anything, just gave her that calm, grounding look. The caption read, "When someone gives you safety without needing to speak." The video had gone viral. Not because of drama, not because of gossip, but because people could feel the kindness between them. Anna turned off her phone and smiled. For once, she didn't feel like running from what people saw, because this time, they saw something real. The next day, filming resumed. It was a heavy scene one, where both characters confront what they lost. As they prepared, the director pulled Anna aside. "I want you to try something different today," he said. "Forget the script. Just respond. Be you." Anna looked surprised. "But we've rehearsed this." "I know," he said. "But you've got something in you now. Something honest. Want to see it." Anna hesitated, then nodded. When the cameras rolled, Keanu stood across from her, his character waiting for an answer. Anna stepped forward. The lines were in her hand, but she let them fall to her side. She looked at Keanu, and for the first time in the film, she didn't say what was written. Instead, she said in her real voice, "You were the only one who stayed when I couldn't speak." Do you know what that meant? Keanu didn't answer with a line either. He just looked at her and whispered, "Yes." The director whispered, cut under his breath. No one moved. It was perfect. And it hadn't come from the page. It came from the silence. Between them, from the moments no one rehearsed, from the question Anna couldn't ask, and the answer she never needed to hear. That evening, Anna picked up the script that had fallen all those days ago. She turned to the last page, and in the margin, written in soft pencil, was a single note from the director. "Sometimes, the most powerful lines are the ones that fall to the floor." Anna smiled, because now she understood it wasn't about remembering every word. It was about remembering who you are when the words disappear. The strength she didn't know she had. Anna walked onto the set early the next morning. The sky was still a soft blue, the kind that felt quiet, like the world hadn't fully woken up yet. Most of the crew hadn't arrived and the stage was silent. Just her footsteps echoing through the hallway, soft and slow. She carried no script this time, not because she didn't care, but because something inside her had changed. She had stopped clinging to the words. She carried the emotion, the truth, the pain and joy that made her character real. She stepped onto the soundstage, saw the lights still dim, and paused. Keanu was already there, not rehearsing, not talking, just sitting at the edge of the stage, staring quietly at the floor, like he always did before a big scene, getting grounded in the silence. He looked up when she entered. "Morning," he said softly. "Morning," she replied, walking toward him. She sat beside him, the same way she had on that very first day. "Are you ready?" he asked. Anna thought about it, about everything they had filmed, about the eyes watching, the questions, the rumors online about the two of them. None of it really mattered anymore. Yeah, she whispered. They were filming the most important scene of the film that day. A confrontation, not the loud kind, but the kind where two people realize they've been carrying the same wound in silence and have to decide whether to run or stay. Anna's character was supposed to break. The script said she should fall to her knees and cry, but the director had already told her, don't follow the page, follow your heart. So, when the cameras rolled and the lights brightened to simulate morning light, Anna didn't fall. She stood tall. Her eyes filled with tears, yes, but her voice didn't tremble. Her hands didn't shake. She looked at Keanu's character and said, you don't have to carry me. You just have to walk beside me. Keanu didn't speak. His character simply stepped forward and nodded. And then again, without planning, it happened. He reached for her hand, not in a dramatic way, not for the camera, but because that was the truth of the moment. Anna didn't look at the camera. She didn't try to cry harder. She just held his hand back. And in that moment, she wasn't acting. She was remembering after the take. The room was quiet. Then a slow, soft applause began from the crew. Not because it was a show, but because they had just witnessed something real. The director stood up, wiping at his eyes. We're done here, he said. We don't need another take. That was it. Anna let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She looked at Keanu, still holding her hand. Neither of them said anything because they didn't need to. When she stepped outside, the sun had risen, not just on the day, but on something inside her. She walked to her trailer, pulled out her journal, and began to write. Not about the lines, not about the cameras, but about the moment she realized she didn't have to pretend anymore. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like she was chasing approval. She felt whole. She wrote, I don't need permission to be real. But the world outside wasn't as quiet as the set. An article came out that evening. Someone had leaked a behind-the-scenes moment, one of the early takes where Anna had frozen during rehearsal, overwhelmed with emotion. It wasn't meant to be shared. It wasn't meant to be mocked. But it was. The headline read, Ana de Armas cracks under pressure while Keanu stays calm. The internet did what it always does. Some people defended her. Others did. Comments poured in. Opinions, assumptions, cruel jokes. Anna saw it late at night, alone in her trailer, scrolling with trembling hands. For a moment, the old fear returned. They see me as weak. She put the phone down. Her chest was tight. Her eyes burned, and then another knock. She didn't have to ask who it was. Keanu stepped in, holding her phone in his hand. He had seen the article too. Don't let them define the story, he said quietly. They weren't there. Anna swallowed hard. But everyone's watching now. Keanu sat beside her. Then let them watch. Let them see what real strength looks like. She shook her head, voice cracking. What if they only see the moment I froze? He looked at her with quiet certainty. Then we show them the moment you stood back up. The next morning, Anna walked into the studio with something in her hand. Not a script, not a phone, a small letter. She handed it to the director and asked him to read it to the crew before the day started. He stood on set, opened the envelope, and read aloud. To anyone who's ever broken down in silence, or stumbled under pressure, or felt exposed when the world was watching, this is for you. You are not weak. You are not fragile. You are human. Being human is not a flaw. It's the most honest thing we can be. The crew clapped quietly. Some wiped tears. Donna stood near the edge of the stage. Keanu by her side, no spotlight, no microphone. Just presence. And this time, she wasn't afraid of being seen because she knew what they were really looking at. A woman who fell and kept standing anyway. As the day wrapped and the cameras shut down, the director pulled Anna aside. This movie was supposed to be about two characters finding truth, he said. But now, I think it's about you. Anna looked confused. What do you mean? He smiled. You didn't just play the part. You became it. You let us witness something most people spend their whole lives hiding, and I didn't know what to say. But Keanu stepped in, his voice soft as always. "She didn't do it for applause," he said. "She did it because she's stronger than anyone realized, even herself." Anna looked down, tears brimming again, but not from pain, from peace. Because now she finally believed it. The moment they couldn't fake, the premiere was still 2 weeks away. But the buzz had already begun. Film blogs, entertainment outlets, social media pages were flooded with whispers about the movie. Not just about the story or the visuals, but about the performances, about her, about them. Anna had never been in the middle of a storm like this. And yet, for the first time, she wasn't afraid of it, because this time, she wasn't pretending to be brave. She was, but the pressure was growing. Interview requests doubled. Journalists wanted exclusives. One rumor kept following her wherever she went. Are Anna and Keanu something more off-screen? She laughed when she first read it, then she stayed quiet, because the truth was, she didn't know how to answer that. Keanu had never crossed a line, never made her uncomfortable, never even hinted at anything beyond friendship, but it was the way he looked at her, the way he stood beside her, not above, not ahead. And lately, she had started noticing something she wasn't ready to name. Not romance. Not desire, something softer, something deeper, a kind of safety that made her wonder, like if maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to carry everything alone. The final scene they were filming wasn't loud. No screaming, no kissing, no dramatic twist. Just two people sitting quietly in a kitchen long after midnight, sharing silence after a storm. Anna's character was supposed to say one last line. It wasn't on the original script. The director had added it just that morning. He handed it to Anna with a smile and said, "Say it how you feel it." The page was small, barely one sentence. Anna stared at it, and her hands began to tremble again because the line wasn't dramatic. It wasn't clever. It was personal. "Thank you for staying when I didn't ask you to." She read it again and again until her throat tightened and her vision blurred. Because it wasn't just the character speaking. It was her when the cameras rolled. The studio kitchen was quiet. Keanu sat across from her, sipping from a ceramic mug. Anna stared at him, not at his costume, not at his character. At him, his eyes were soft, steady like always. And for a second, everything else, lights, cameras, sound, just disappeared. She took a breath, looked down, then looked back up and said it. "Thank you for staying when I didn't ask you to." A pause followed, longer than anyone expected. Keanu didn't respond with a line. He just nodded and reached across the table. His hand rested on hers. No words, just warmth. The director whispered, "Cut," but no one moved, because everyone knew that moment wasn't acting after the scene. Anna stayed behind on set, alone with the quiet. Her hand still tingled from where Keanu had touched. It not because of the contact, but because of the meaning. She sat at the kitchen table and stared at the prop mug. And for the first time in her career, she realized something powerful. She didn't want to pretend. Anymore, she didn't want to fake strength. She didn't want to fake joy. She didn't even want to fake love. She wanted the real thing. And somehow, in the silence between takes, in the pauses between scripts, in the unspoken moments behind the camera, she had already found it. Not in a romance, not in a fantasy, but in a person who saw her, truly saw her, and never once looked away. That night, Keanu knocked on her trailer door just once. She opened it slowly. He didn't step in, just looked at her and said, "Do you want to take a walk?" She nodded. They walked a lot in silence, past empty sets, past quiet makeup rooms, past posters of films they used to be known for. They stopped near the edge of the lot. Under a flickering light, Anna looked up at the stars. "I used to think the world only saw the version of me they wanted," she said. Keanu didn't interrupt. "But now," she added, "I think someone finally saw the part I've kept hidden." He waited a beat, then said, "You let yourself be seen, and that takes more courage than most people ever show." She looked at him, really looked. "Why do you always know exactly what to say?" He smiled gently. "I don't. I just say what's true. Anna's eyes stung, not from sadness, from the beauty of being known, truly known, just before they said goodbye for the night. Keanu reached into his pocket and handed her something. A folded piece of paper. Anna opened it slowly. It was the original. Page. The one she dropped that first day, the one he picked up without a word. But now? There was something written on the back. His handwriting, just one line. You didn't need saving. You just needed someone who stayed. Anna covered her mouth. Tears rolled down. He didn't wait for her to speak. He just gently touched her shoulder and walked away into the night. And for the first time in her life, Anna didn't chase the ending, because this wasn't an ending. This was the beginning of something. Too quiet to name, ... but too powerful to forget. The story they didn't writeth, night of the premiere, came like a wave. The red carpet shimmered under flashing lights. Crowds gathered behind velvet ropes, calling out names, holding posters, waving their phones in the air. Photographers shouted directions. Reporters leaned into microphones. The air buzzed with attention. Anna stepped out of the black car, her dress flowing like water. The crowd erupted, cameras firing in bursts. She smiled. Not the practiced kind. The real one. The kind that doesn't come from being seen, but from finally seeing yourself. Keanu stepped out behind her. The noise grew louder. He looked at her with a quiet calm, the same way he always had, not trying to impress, not trying to lead, just walking beside her. They didn't hold hands. They didn't pose like a couple. But somehow everyone could feel the closeness between them. It wasn't romance the world saw. It was respect. It was something gentler. Something deeper. Inside the theater, the lights dimmed. The room fell silent. The film began. From the first scene, you could feel the shift in the audience. Breaths held. Eyes wide. No one moved. No one whispered. Then came that scene. The one in the kitchen. Anna's line. Thank you for staying when I didn't ask you to. You could hear people sniffle. Others wiped their eyes by the end of the film. The entire room stood in applause. But Anna didn't hear the clapping. Not really. She was staring at the screen at herself, and for the first time, she didn't see. The girl who used to hide behind perfect lines and controlled emotions, she saw. Her, the real her, the one who had dropped the script, the one who had stood back up, the one who had spoken truth, and beside her. Keanu clapped quietly, not for himself. Not for the crowd, but for her. After the showing, they were pulled into the usual chaos. Interviews, photos, backstage. Congratulations. Everyone wanted a quote, a comment, glimpse behind the curtain. But Anna wasn't thinking about that. She was thinking about what comes after, when the lights fade, when the noise ends, when the story finishes. What happens then? She found Keanu alone on a quiet balcony outside the after-party. He was leaning on the rail, looking out over the city. Soft wind, brushing his jacket. She joined him, no words for a while. Just the stars above and the noise far below. Finally, she said, "What happens now?" He looked at her. "You mean, after the movie?" She nodded. Keanu paused and said, "You keep telling the truth, no matter how quiet it feels. Even if no one claps." Anna swallowed. "What if I get lost again?" He didn't hesitate. "Then I'll find you." Her breath caught. Not because of the promise, but because she believed it. Months passed. The film won awards. Magazines printed their faces. Headlines called them the quiet duo that changed Hollywood. But they didn't read most of it. They were already somewhere else. Anna started choosing different roles, ones that scared her in good ways, ones that told honest stories. She wrote more, journaled more, smiled more. She even taught a small acting class on the weekends for young girls who didn't believe they had a voice. And one day, she told them the story, not the Hollywood version, the real one, about the page that fell, about the man who picked it up, and how that single act reminded her that she didn't need to be perfect to be powerful, just present and willing. Keanu kept working, kept showing up, but something in his eyes had changed too. A peace. A deeper quiet. They didn't talk every day, but every time they did, felt like no time had passed. One day, months later, a package arrived at Anna's door. No name on the box, just a note inside. In his handwriting, "You left this behind." Opened it? It was the script, the original one, but with one difference. A new page had been added to the end, blank, except for a single line. Some stories don't end. They just become part of who you are. Anna held it to her chest, closed her eyes, and smiled. Because sometimes, the most powerful story isn't the one you rehearsed, it's the one you never expected, the one that lives in a shared silence. A dropped. Page. A steady hand. A quiet man who never needed applause. And a woman who learned she was never weak. She was just waiting to remember her strength, and once she did, she never looked back.